Good evening, students and staff and everyone present here. I would like to welcome you all to today's debate about the clash between authority and personal freedom. The topics in today's discussion are junk food, the portrayal of religion through clothing, and the subject of healthcare. On our panel arguing for, we have...
Hi everyone, my name is Mantasira Hoque. I'm in year 13, currently studying computing, and I believe that authority is far more important than freedom, and that it gives us all a sense of clarity.
Good afternoon everyone, my name is Ema Miah and I am in year 13 studying English literature, history and economics. I vehemently believe that rules and regulations create a stable economy and it gives us a clear vision.
My name is Najmin Islam, currently studying sociology, economics and psychology, and I strongly believe that rules and regulations are needed in order for society to function well.
And on our panel arguing against, we have...
Good afternoon, I am Jesica Uddin and I am in year 12 and I study A-level economics, maths and computer science. I strongly believe that each individual should have their own right for freedom.
Hi, my name is Ariana Hossain. I'm doing biology, chemistry, maths and physics at A levels. I believe that the rules and regulations they stand in the way of people's decision-making process and they hinder people's voice of expression.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Musthafa and I study A-levels in sociology, English, literature and business. And I believe that people have the authority to do whatever they want according to their free will.
Thank you for that. The first topic to be discussed today is junk food. Should the government replace or remove fast food businesses near schools? Would anyone like to comment on that?
So we are from the proposing team that rules and regulations should not be banned and we believe that junk food should be banned. Now the reason for that is because junk food has a lot of bad negative externalities. For example, having junk food leads to students littering in the pavements, which then hinders for people to walk in a clean environment. Also, having junk food in the long run creates more health issues, especially for the minority groups.
Would anyone in our panel like to argue against that?
Yeah.
Ariana?
Okay, I understand that fast food industry contributes to the increasing levels of obesity. However, supermarkets, they also attract young people with meal deals and other marketing promotions. So which means that a group of friends, they can chip in and buy a multi-pack of donuts, which is as unhealthy as a packet of wings and chips. And at a price that appeals to them. Therefore, banning fast food shops near school won't prevent young people from consuming unhealthy food.
You mentioned that supermarkets could also contribute to obesity and health problems. Mustapha, would you like to add on to that?
I would like to add on to that, saying that she does mention that it leads to obesity and health problems in fast food as well as supermarkets. But I would like to further emphasize the point that fast food restaurants, they provide 20% of working class individuals a job. And if all of them are shut down, what would happen to all those unemployed working class men and women?
Would anyone like to comment on unemployed workers? Mantasira?
I believe that the reason for these fast food shops... Okay, can I change my... Okay. I believe that I believe that fast food shops should be banned, and even if it does deploy employers, then these employers could move on to far better jobs which would not only benefit them but also benefit other people's health and as well as their own.
Wouldn't they need to possess certain skills and qualifications to get into other jobs? Would anyone like to comment on that?
Okay. Yeah.
Ariana?
So okay, I understand that you have said how like we can the workers in the fast food shops, they can go on to have another jobs, but most of the jobs in a city like London, they are like professional and skilled jobs, and then it's quite demanding, and those working class people, they don't have those skills to do those jobs.
I would also like to comment on that. If we were to remove fast food shops, what about the learning of the students? The students will get stressed because their families do not have their own source of income to get money. I understand that there are benefits, but those are just extra amount of money that comes in from the government. The students might spend most of the time thinking of how they should help the parents instead of focusing in their own education.
Would anyone like to comment on that, Mantasira?
I believe that eating junk food, it alters the brain activity similar to drug addiction, for example, heroin and cocaine. And eating junk food, it decreases their productivity, it demotivates them, and it has a severe physical impact as well as a mental being impact.
Najmin, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, I believe that government intervention through rules and regulations also has economic advantages. The ongoing pandemic has shown us that 1 in 4 children today suffer from obesity, and around 14.4 million of them have high blood pressure. Why is this? Well, near every school there's a local PFC shop, luring young kids into the temptations of fatty oil, selling cancer, selling diabetes. In economics, we learn about a concept called externalities. By consuming junk food, not only the individual is affected, but also the people around them. You, me, and everyone in this hall will have to pay for this through higher taxes.
Would anyone like to comment on taxes?
Well, there are many solutions instead of banning the fast food shops in general. We could actually give subsidy to the fast food shops, which is money to help them improve their own menus and recipes. For example, instead of using sunflower oil, they could use extra virgin olive oil.
I would like to, okay.
Ariana?
Yeah, I would also like to add that like working class people, they don't always have the opportunity to buy fresh fruits and vegetables or organic food, which is far more expensive than fast food shops. So the working class children, they have to rely on them in their day-to-day life. So I believe that the government should intervene to help those working class people and make fresh fruits and vegetables more accessible to them.
Musthafa, would you like to comment on healthy alternatives for fast food shops?
Contributing to Ariana's point, I believe that individuals should have the choice to have healthy options, because local to our school especially, you see that local there's more PSC shops compared to healthy options. So if there are more healthy options to students, I believe they are less consumed.
Do you have any suggestions for any healthy options?
For example, you can see that there is healthy alternatives in other countries such as China or America, and there's such as like Budgians or Morrison's, something like that.
Would, for instance, youth clubs opening in place of these fast food shops help?
They can help as well, because I believe that instead of buying fast food, children can be educated as they go to youth clubs in their spare time on the negatives of fast food and the implications of it in future life, which they're not really getting a proper education about in schools to fully develop because of lack of resources and etc. in schools.
Emma, would you like to comment on youth clubs opening in place of these shops?
Now, there are many youth clubs already. You might agree, you might disagree. But do any of you guys actually go to these youth clubs? Why? Because you guys don't even know about these. Now, this is a term that we learned in economics called information failure. This is where the government intervenes again. And I would like to reiterate your guys' point, the opposing team's point, sorry. You guys have stated that fast food strips away people's jobs. However, have you ever thought about why those type of people are in those jobs in the first place? Have you ever seen a white man working in a PFC shop? No. I've seen the white people working in the board of directors. I've seen them in higher ranking jobs, higher positions. Why? It all comes down to fast food. Because fast food, as Mantasira has stated before, it reduces our productivity levels. It reduces our ability to speak, our ability to function. And then it also affects our education, which then hinders the way we get into bigger roles.
You mentioned background and culture partaking in job opportunities. Musthafa, would you like to comment on this?
Coming on the point, I believe that she has got a good point, saying that how individuals are hindered in life, but I believe that government is not really doing much to help those individuals who are at the bottom to get better jobs. She mentioned that all the middle class white men and women are in the better jobs. Well, how come the government is not providing working class men and women, boys and girls, the opportunity to rise up the social ladder? Why is it that they're being questioned for their way of life when they're not given the opportunity to excel in future careers?
Jessica, would you like to add on to this?
Have you ever thought about the migrants? Where did they come from? Did they have any kind of opportunities over there? They were stuck to work in such kind of jobs where it is the fast food industry. What are you gonna do about that? They don't have high skill experience in these kind of jobs. What will the government do about that? Will they provide jobs for them?
Also, I would like to add that, okay, you mentioned that why are they in those jobs in the first place? But like, universities, like, if you want to do a 3-year university course, it will take you around 27,000, or around, like, more. It could be more. Then why will the migrants or the working class people would get the money to do that degree, or to do a job that they desire?
Would anyone in the audience like to ask a question?
Any questions at all?
Mr. Rolfin?
Really interesting debate. We've spoken a lot about the role of government. We've spoken a little bit about education. I'm just wondering what role parents would have in educating and being responsible for the health of their children.
Would anyone in the panel like to comment on this? Mantasira?
I would suggest a parent scheme within the secondary schools and within the primary schools. This way, the parents could be educated and could be taught on how to provide healthy, fulfilling meals for their kids. And that way, these same kids, and it has also been proven that working class kids tend to visit these junk food shops far more often than middle class kids. And so if these parents were taught how to provide fulfilling meals for their kids, then these kids won't be running to these junk food shops every day after school.
Thank you, Mantasira, for your input, but unfortunately that is all we have time for today on the subject of junk food. I would now like to turn the attention to the subject of religion portrayed in public institutions such as schools and workplaces. Would anyone in the panel like to comment on this? Ariana?
Okay, so I believe that people from different religions and different backgrounds, they should be allowed to practice their religion in their homes, in workplaces, and in schools. And I understand that some people might feel threatened, or they might have concern about by their appearances, or by the practices, but if one person feels threatened, it doesn't mean that we can restrict that person's freedom of expression. And after all, like Britain, it's a really multi-diverse country, and everyone has the right to voice their opinions, and they shouldn't be restricted from.
You mentioned freedom of expression and to showcase religious identity. Would anyone in the panel like to counter-argue this? Emma?
Ariana has said, and I quote, "Everyone has the right to voice their opinions." Now, do you think a 5-year-old child would know how to voice their opinion on why they wear the hijab if they were asked, or why do you wear a hijab? Do you really think they would know the correct answer to that?
I would like to follow on that from that point. It is up to the parents if they educate their own children about the religion. Religion should be part of a child's life from the beginning, or else when they grow up, they wouldn't be able to understand what the concept of wearing hijab is, or if they're Sikh or Hindus, what the concept of wearing a turban is, and understanding the prayers itself.
But you cannot simply educate someone and expect them to follow that. It has to be within themselves. So you could tell a 5-year-old that you are a Muslim, I wear a hijab, so now you too should wear a hijab. But it needs to come within themselves, which is why I believe that the headscarf should be banned in primary schools from nursery up until the age of 7 at the very least, because they're young Asian females or young girls wearing the headscarf. They do not know why they are wearing it. And there are some cases where unfortunately there are Asian parents who do unfortunately impose the headscarf upon these kids simply because they are wearing it. And I believe that is not fair, and that it should be banned. And after the age of 7, they know what is right, what is wrong, and if they want to, then they can wear it.
You say that, but some kids actually in the very young ages, they can become Hafiz. Hafiz are the qualified experts that knows the Quran inside and out, not the translation itself, but they know all the verses memorized. So what are you going to say about this point?
So your notion was to argue against hijab bans, and they should be allowed to explore everything. Now you're talking about Hafiz now. I would like to say, so do you, as a young child, do you really think you going to madrasa or whatever institution you go to in order to practice your religion, do you really think you understand why you even go there? Like, do you think as a 5-year-old, if you go back to your early stages of life, you think as a 5-year-old you'd understand why you're there in the first place, or do you think it would be because your parents put you there, that's why you're there?
Najmin, would you like to add on to that?
Like Emma and Mantasira said, kids, they can't even make a decision about their favourite colour, let alone the religion they want to choose. This shows that parents should not impose the religious uniform on kids.
You say that, but the same argument could be also stated where children, when they are in lessons, they can't pay attention sometimes. The argument should be invalid then.
Okay, thank you. I would now like to turn the attention to the institution of workplaces and uniform and dress code there. Musthafa, would you like to comment on that?
I'd like to comment on that, saying how in the workplace many women are seen to have been harassed or etc. based on their hijab, but many women in the public and the workplace and in schools have been stripped of their hijab, mocked at by other fellow students. On the other hand, I believe that there's not enough being done in schools to prevent these sort of attacks being done on women, young women especially. And the fact that these comments are still being made by pupils and people in the workplace show that this government's not doing much to help those individuals express their form of identity freely without feeling a form of restrictions on their actual day-to-day basis of life.
Mantasira, would you like to comment on that?
I believe that in public workplaces, religious pieces of clothing should be banned. So, for example, if you are a Sikh and your job is a constructor, then unfortunately you won't be able to wear your turban as it is very big and it's very wide, and so therefore you must wear your helmet. And so for that reason, religious pieces of clothing and items as such should be banned. You can wear it before or after, but within the workplace, not allowed.
You mentioned that it's a safety hazard.
It is.
Ariana, would you like to comment on that?
Okay, so I believe, I understand that the opposing team has said like that about the turban, that is quite big, and like for someone who is working in construction, it might be a safety hazard. But we know that like not all of the turbans they are in like they're really big. I know I have seen it like turbans that are really that are quite small, and it's just to cover their head, to cover their hair and head. So basically, if they will wear that one, they can wear the construction hat, they can wear it perfectly. And then if they still need some adjustment, I believe the institution or the organization that they work in, they should alter their style of the hat to make meet the needs of their employees.
Najmin, would you like to comment on that?
No, because it's to protect other people, not just themselves. So they need to be protecting society and care about others as well.
And also, extra cost goes into making helmets specifically for a small group of people. So it makes that much more sense for them to wear their helmet instead of their turban. And even if it is a small size turban, the helmet provides that much more security and protection. So if anything was to go wrong, then the helmet would be what keeps them safe.
Jessica, would you like to comment on that?
People have different body size parts, so what I'm saying is that the company itself should be already catering for the different size of people. Someone could have a really big head, and so they would need a bigger helmet for them. So your point does not make sense because some people are born with shorter legs, longer legs. So if they were simply to remove the covering, they could just stuff their hair inside the helmet.
Would anyone like to comment on that? Emma?
I think we've sidetracked little bit from our actual argument. So our argument was that we are banning all sorts of uniform, all sorts of religious wear. Now our main argument was that we should ban hijab wear for children up to the age of 7. Now, the reason being is because certain children, they experience bullying and they don't even know it's bullying in institutions. And similarly, in workplaces, employees, they come across institutional bullying. And now no one knows about these things. And why? It's because of some of the things they're wearing. Now, some people say, oh, don't really care about what they think. It doesn't matter. However, first impressions do matter. Now, if you come along to a workplace all dressed up in your religious gown or outfit, like a shalwar kameez, now, in a professional environment, now, if you come in like that, do you really think someone will accept you while everyone's roaming around in suits and ties?
So you think everyone should look equally as professional?
Yes.
Would anyone like to counter-argue that?
Yeah. Okay, so like I understand your point, but are you saying that people should not wear their religious clothing because it doesn't fit into the society's like the standard society standard? So like, okay, I understand that salwar kameez, they may look more like may not look as professional as the suits or tuxedos, but like you can't really deter that person from wearing that, like okay, so like to make it more professional, they might wear like light colored salwar kameez or their like whatever their culture clothing is. Like people, they should have the voice to like, and they should have the right to wear whatever they want, but in a professional way. And it doesn't
Mustapha,
have
would you like to
touch
comment on
the
that?
suits.
I'd like to comment on this because in the schools, especially our schools, there's a rule that in the sixth form you're allowed to wear hijabs and a salwar kameez or burqa with a blazer on, which I believe is a good alternative to having no hijab or nothing at all, because it gives young women the opportunity and diversity to fit in with the crowd as well as blend in as well, which I believe is a good thing of young identity, because that's the age which you want to really express your forms of identity, because without that, how would you know who you are yourself? It's part of the Equality Act as a whole.
France has removed Catholicism and religion from its government entirely. Compared to Britain, that is completely different to how the government is here, which is very accepting and tolerant of religious identity. Would anyone in the panel like to comment on which country has got it right? Mantasira?
Although I am for the side of religious clothing items being banned, I do believe that Britain has it right, as France, I would personally say, is a bit too extreme. France has it a bit too extreme, whereas Britain has it correct.
Would anyone in the panel like to come against that? Mustapha?
I could go against that, saying that even though I do support the statement that she's saying, that France has got a good point, because by enabling students to be all similar, they're allowed to pursue their own form of identity outside of schools, which may threaten other people and make them more fair for schools. Because as you can see in other schools, hate crime exists, and surely by removing these sort of things from schools, hate crime will be lower down.
Does anyone in the panel have anything to say about the hate crime rates? Emma?
So, I think that France, in comparison to the UK, did not get it right, because I think the UK got it right more because in the UK, in France, the cases when a woman wears a hijab, they are questioned. There's loads of problems that come with it when a woman wears hijab. For example, they are called different types of names. It's not just a religious issue then, it's more than that. It goes beyond that. It's like it goes more than bullying as well. In fact, it's almost like discrimination, it's racism, it's all those things. So I think the UK has got it more right in terms of their laws, their limitations to the religious wear, their everything.
Mantasira, would you like to add on to that?
But I would say France has it right compared to Britain, because though France may be extreme, there is definitely a lot less hate crime in France because of the bans that have been taking place. Before the bans were there, people that wore the headscarf, people that wore the hat, so the men in Islam that wore the hat or they wore the long piece of clothing, they would get bullied and they would get shunned from society. After the bans got put in place, these people started to be a lot more accepted in society. It is sad, I agree, but it has proven to be better for society, and therefore I believe that France does have it better than Britain.
Would anyone like to argue against and say Britain has it better? Jessica?
Britain, I agree with what Mantasira said, that France reduces the amount of bullying inside schools or discrimination inside the workplace. However, that doesn't mean that we are stopped from practicing our own religion. We can practice it outside. It's a statement from ourselves. And also, that would imply that if we were restricted from expressing our own religion, then what does it mean to be a human?
Mantasira?
You are still allowed to express your beliefs and your religion, but you can do so at your home while you're praying or while you're reading a holy book.
Okay.
Ariana?
Okay, I would also like to add to that religion, it is incorporated in our day-to-day life. Like like you take Christianity or Muslim or like Hindu, like it's a part of our life. It's a part of our day-to-day life. Whether it's working, or whether it's studying, whether it's doing any form of work, like the religion is incorporated into it. Like if you follow the Quran or or anything or any holy Bible, they say like they give every instruction of how you should dress, how you should say. Then if they say you have to wear the hijab, or if you have to wear the turban, then the society, they shouldn't be questioning you about your religion. Religion is something that you can't control, and people should be respectful towards it.
Mustapha, would you like to add on to that point?
I'd like to come on to the point of saying that in schools, people do have the freedom to express their own point of view and their religious point of view. But also, as France states, that religion should be done at home. But you could also state that religion can't be done at home because for men, especially in Islam, and for Christians, there's Sunday church and 5 daily prayers which need to be prayed by men compulsory in Islam. What's going to happen to them? Don't they ever say to go pray outside in the mosque?
Would anyone like to come back to that? Najmin?
I'll say what France are doing is they're discriminating amongst people, because if there was a white man wearing a shorts, they wouldn't say anything about that. But when it comes to Muslim women wearing hijabs, they have a viewpoint on that and they go against that. Why is that?
I would say that there is a specific reason for them doing what they do, because if you think about it from the government's perspective, it's like hate crimes. All that's happened is the number of hate crimes has gone up and up and up and up. So they've banned what they have banned to protect society and to protect people and to keep them not feeling at risk.
But like you say that like the government has done this to reduce hate crimes, to reduce people being harassed, but doesn't mean that the society is fault, that the society, it doesn't have a structure, or the society, they don't understand the other people's feelings, or like what they don't understand the background, like then what's gonna happen?
So France thinks that religion should not be involved at all in public institutions such as schools, and Britain does allow this. So who is right? Mantasira?
I would say France is right.
Why?
I would say France is right because in Britain it is allowed, but like I said before in my previous point, where religious headscarves and religious clothing items should be banned in Britain's schools, it's banned in France for a reason, because yet again, those that do wear it is few in number, and those that do wear it, they get excluded and they are made to feel left out, and they are made to feel bullied, which demotivates them, and which leaves them coming to school feeling feeling underwhelmed and just feeling overwhelmed and not feeling ready for education at all. So I think France has it right.
But that means the government, it excludes the ethnic minority or the religion minority people that are in, and like in a country you should value every person. Like if it means like the 70% in, or like the 99% is one side, and then if the 1% is other side, you can't exclude that one person, because they're human as well. They all have their rights, and they have and the 99%, they should be respectful, and then they would like to maybe they should understand their what are they coming from, and they should understand their situations as well.
Jessica, would you like to add on to that?
Coming on from Ariana's point, France becoming a secular country was due to a past trauma, because the Catholic Church became very powerful and started stealing the food from the commoners, and because of that the commoners had a rage and went against the Catholic Church. And so all of this was due in the past. Now we are moving on in the future. We should be forgetting the past. The past is a reason where we look back and understand and learn from the mistakes. So because it was all in the past, and now if you see any kind of person practicing their own religion, you shouldn't be afraid of what they are doing. They're just expressing themselves. Just because one person, the whole community is terrorized of one person expressing their religion, that doesn't mean we should restrict them from expressing themselves.
Mantasira, Ema?
So Jessica has said that we should forget about the past and move on to the future. However, Jessica, isn't our past what shapes our present? Isn't that what it is? Our past does affect how we live right now. How we are living right now is determined from our past, and how we evolve from here is going to affect our future. So I think that the UK has it right, because they do not discriminate people. I've not seen in comparison to to France, I've not seen the UK discriminate as much. Obviously there is discrimination in all areas, but I'm saying on a scale, the discrimination from expressing yourselves and all these other things, it's more discriminated in France than in the UK. And if you were to ask someone in France, should men be allowed to wear tank tops? Now, what would you think they would say?
Would anyone in the panel like to comment on that? Musthafa?
I'd like to comment on this, saying that it is quite a strange claim to make, but she also has got a point, saying that it is quite a judgmental thing based on what you should wear and not. So she has got a good point of view, saying that making people wear universal clothing, allowing people to stick to sort of a guideline to what to wear, has got a good point.
Mantasira, would you like to comment on that?
To conclude my point for this argument, I believe that France, compared to Britain, France does it correctly when it comes to banning religious items within schools, within education systems. To conclude my point.
Would anyone like to comment on that?
Okay. So I believe that like the Britain, they know the importance of diversity in their country, because in the past wars, it was not only the British, it was also the Canadians, the Indians, and also people from different backgrounds, from different religions. So they know, like, with like working together, they can divert any problems they have, and then they can, and the importance of teamwork is really is powerful.
Thank you. I would like to wrap up the subject of religion and clothing, as well as whether France or Britain have got it right. I would now like to divert the attention to the subject of healthcare and whether individuals should have utmost say in what they choose for their own health. Would anyone like to comment on that?
I would like to start off by talking about the COVID vaccine. And I believe that if you are someone who needs to have it taken, then you must have it taken. Because there have been 16.2 million cases and 154,000 deaths. And so if you are someone who has been advised to take it and you refuse to take it, then not only are you putting yourself at risk, but you are also putting every single other person around you at severe risk.
Would anyone like to comment on that?
Okay. Yeah.
Ariana?
Okay, I understand that vaccines play an important role in decreasing the amount of people affected by a targeted disease. However, vaccines don't always ensure the resistance capability from the disease, and then it might have like a bad side effect, and it might lead to deaths. And then it has been reported that after like the first dose of COVID vaccine, 5,479 people have died. Then. So what would you like to add about that?
Emma?
As Mantasira stated before, there has been a number of cases where people actually have died because of corona. Now, if we want to create a vaccine where there are possibilities of saving humanity, there are possibilities of decreasing that number of deaths, then why wouldn't we take the chance? Why wouldn't we? And plus, taking the COVID vaccine is very important. It's more important than you guys think it is, because without it, you are unable to travel to certain places. Like, for example, I'm unable to travel to Bangladesh, where my relatives are, and I'm unable to see them because these people are not taking their vaccines, and the cases are not going down.
Would anyone like to comment on that, Jessica?
Sometimes these regulations about taking the COVID vaccine can go a bit extreme. For example, I know a cousin in France where they are forced to take the COVID vaccines, or they are not allowed to go inside school. Why should taking the vaccine prevent you? Why shouldn't taking the vaccine prevent you from going to school, where education will affect your future?
because because there are over 500 to 600 students in that building. Within a class there are 30 to 40 students, and so if one student refuses to take the vaccine, though they know the benefits of it, though they know why they should take it, then of course they should be refused education, because after all, you know what the benefits of taking it, you know why you should take it, and so if you don't take it, then that's why they're being refused.
Emma, would you like to add on to that?
Yes, I would. So Jessica has stated that it prevents children from going into school. Hold on, Jessica. Where were we last year? Were we in lockdown?
From your
Which
point, I
affected
would
our
like to say,
education, right?
from your point,
Hold on, Jessica. Let me
okay.
finish my point. So, I'd like to say, didn't not going into school affect our education? It's definitely affected me. I don't know about you, but it's really affected me.
Jessica, would you like
Yeah,
to come back?
from your point of view, you have stated perfectly that because of the advanced technology that we have, the schools are providing laptops to the students. That means that we are able to take online learning. So some people are affected, but some people are not affected. It all depends on your ability to be individual in your independent learning.
Emma, would you like to come back on that?
Yes. From my personal experience, studying at home and studying in school, two different environments. Studying at home, I got my siblings, I have a pet now. Now, these are all distractions to me. Coming in school where everyone's working, the teachers are encouraging you face to face, you get to talk to them and they get to see you, not behind a screen where they don't even know what you're doing. You could be possibly playing a video game while your phone or the video call is on mute and the teacher doesn't even know what you're up to. So how would you rebuttal that?
Musthafa, would you like to comment on that?
I had to comment on that because on the one hand you're saying that vaccines are mandatory on people, on the other hand you're saying that there's another 40% of the population who believe that it's not good. Maybe it would not be an alternative to say that they have another alternative, because you're not giving the other voices a freedom of expression. The 60% who argue that they should get vaccinated are given what they want. They're allowed to go to school, they're allowed to travel. Why are you restricting 40% of people in the world the chance to live their own free lives, equal opportunity to be able to go anywhere globally?
There have been side effects also mentioned of the COVID vaccine. Would you like to add on to that?
The side effects of the vaccine, as stated by Ariana, is that nearly 5,000 people have been affected and killed by the side effects of the vaccine. And I'm sure that if that was your son or daughter that had an effect on their own self, you would be anti-vax as well.
Mantasira, would you like to comment on that?
There are bound to be symptoms after taking a vaccine, but the booster vaccine has been proven to be very highly protective and has been proven to be extremely effective at preventing COVID. And if there was a case of people dying from the vaccine and not from the disease itself, then no one would be taking the vaccine in the first place. So I don't think that is entirely correct.
Jessica, would you like to come back to that?
People already have taken 2 COVID vaccines, as a matter of fact. So the government has always stated that it will be effective against the COVID. We know for sure that you can still get a chance of getting COVID. However, how many more vaccines will we take right now just to improve our immunity against the vaccines? For example, the booster jab.
Mantasira, would you like to come back on that?
The booster jab, like I previously stated, has been proven to be very highly effective. And as for your question of how many more jabs will there be, that isn't one that we can answer. But if we were living in a nation where these rules exist, then we have to act upon them, as it benefits us as well as society. For example, with these jabs, if you want to go on a holiday, you can do so, but without it, you cannot do so, and that is something that I would not like to experience. I don't know
Emma,
about
would you like to add on to that?
Yep. So I'm going to go back to Mustapha's point. He stated that 60% of the population agree to having the vaccine and 40% are against the vaccine. Now, you clearly said they wouldn't have a life. You're right, they wouldn't have a life. You know why? Because they are most likely, the probability of them dying without getting the vaccine, it's more than them not getting vaccinated. The reason why there is a vaccine in place is to reduce these cases. Now, as Ariana stated before, the number of deaths after the corona vaccine has been taken compared to the deaths before it has been taken, it's obviously greater. Now, if there's a chance where in the greater population we can reduce the number of deaths, why wouldn't we take that chance?
Okay, can I comment on this point? forget vaccines, look at schools in general. Just because a small minority of students have more educational needs, does that mean they're restricted from schools? Or should there be a place in hand for them to get better at school excel?
Would anyone like to come back to that? Najmin?
This is where the concept of externalities comes about. Vaccine is a merit good. It has positive externalities because it doesn't only protect you, it protects the people around you. Why wouldn't you want to protect your friends, your mother, your father?
Okay.
Ariana, would you like to come back on
Yeah.
that?
I would like to add that there's like the vaccine, the COVID vaccine we have been talking about has been impractical for around 2 years, and it has, and for a long period of time the vaccines, like normally to improvise one it takes around 11 years. Then like so people are like people like educated people, they will surely be like scared or concerned that how come like it came so quickly. And also if you talk about the effectiveness, like, and it has been like I said, it has been pretty practical for only 2 years, then how will you know it will not affect the vaccinated people in the future? What if the genes mutate or something happens in the DNA and it will lead to more fatal diseases? Then what will happen?
Would anyone in the audience like to ask a question?
Can I ask the panel how they feel about people in the UK getting their third jab when most of the world can't even get their first?
Would anyone in the panel like to comment on that? Ariana?
Okay, so I believe it is an example of the inequality that is present in our modern world. Like I have friends in like right now I'm like I can say that I'm fortunate enough to live in a country like UK where people are getting their 30 doses, but I know people who don't even get the second doses because like the rich countries they were given more vaccines, where poor countries like Bangladesh or like you say like Myanmar, like those South Asian countries, they don't have the access to it. And people and the thing is like the working class people that they don't have like a large sum of disposable income, they can't get the vaccine, and they can't even go somewhere else they can't even move somewhere else to have to move like to get better opportunities. And now the COVID vaccine has made it more difficult to them to get better opportunities.
I'm sorry, but that is all we have time for today. I would like to thank our panel, Najmin, Emma, Mantasira, Jessica, Ariana, Musthafa. I would also like to thank Anwar, Natalie, Victor, Mr. Rothan, and our audience members, as well as Porter Trust and Samosa Media Project for making this discussion possible. Thank you all and have a good evening.
Thank you.